we have an opportunity to put on average each and every individual in same similar amounts of land and resources. They would instead, for arbitrary decisions by the government which they may have had no control over, often cram people up into minuscule and minuscule spaces and create artificially huge amounts of poverty in the new world that we are going to start. Three things. One, metric of fairness. Second, poverty, how they create it here and in the next world, and I don't mean heaven. Third, responsibility, what happens in the new world, what does the new world look like? First, metric of fairness. First question that we ask in terms of values is why is it that environmental friendliness is a superior value to alternate values, for instance, right? If environmental friendliness is nothing but an instrument to safeguard human beings, why is it that you forget about human rights abuses by governments? Why is it that you forget about other metrics such as economically empowering or creating poverty-less countries by governments? Those are equally, nice metrics if you're going to impose value judgments. But the next thing that we said is that it is very difficult to calculate, for example, what kind of pollution countries do, especially because carbon emission measurements did not exist before the 1980s and in some instances 90s. Their response was, oh, but what matters is now. No, because what happened in the 1980s means that countries like Sweden now have the capacity to create lifestyles for their people who can lead environmentally friendly lives. But people in Mali do not have that opportunity because they have to pollute now in order to first fight poverty before they can successfully implement expensive green technology in their personal lives and on a broader scale in their countries, right? So for instance, ladies and gentlemen, unlike what they say, this is what's going to happen. Countries like Sweden, countries like Germany, who are extremely environmentally friendly, have been able to do this because they've been able, and yes, even our person and pollution, they are much more friendlier than countries such as Mali. Why? Because people in Mali now often depend on, for example, coal industries, right? So these are individual people who have to do that. We're also talking about individual lifestyle, the kind of real thing that Hamas trying to push for. The individual person in Mali does not have the ability to be able to properly even distribute rubbish into 3 different bins because that kind of infrastructure does not exist in that country. Because of the former colonization that often all of the countries that you're going to protect under the model created. So we're talking about France creating huge amounts of poverty in Mali to fight which they had to go ahead and exploit coal. If they didn't, ladies and gentlemen, a huge more amount of poverty and conflict would have happened in that particular country. We think that means that the basic assumption under their case, which is that necessarily countries which are environmentally friendly now will be more environmentally friendly in the new world, is faulty because people in Mali never had the opportunity to be more environmentally friendly to begin with. We think that's unfortunate. We think that's not a thing that we are going to go ahead and support. Second, poverty. Right onwards we told you, what is going to happen in the current world is in a world where you promise environmental friendliness, governments, for the sake of extra land in the next planet, are going to go ahead and massively shut down on all coal industries, for example, to be able to be considered for more land. That kind of short-termish reaction will mean huge amounts of unemployment, will mean huge amounts of poverty for a lot of people who now rely on those kinds of industries for their daily livelihood. Absolutely zero response. That literally talks about millions of people not having the ability to eat in their daily lives. We think that's a shame. Second, how do they create poverty in the next planet? They create poverty in the next planet, especially compared to us, where each and every individual on average gets equal access to resources. Under their model, that does not happen. They do concede that. Inequality already starts off under their model. Under their model, ladies and gentlemen, they have to concede that there are some countries that do produce more than others per person. That means there will be some countries which will be more cramped up than others. We think that it's unfortunate when you put people into unfortunate situations. If they have a government that is so inefficient that they couldn't fight environmental problems, how is it a good idea to put them even more at a disadvantage when they can't fight poverty to begin with? We think that's massively unfortunate as well. They create poverty on this planet, they create poverty on the next planet. Third, let's talk about change and how change happens from what?
Sir, if you're going to transfer the current power imbalance towards the new world, if you're going to transfer the current power imbalance in terms of military power into into the new world, won't even equal distribution of resources create and entrench that same power that pollutes and destroys Earth.
I'm going to tell you under your model how there's going to be a lot of resentment and conflict. That's my third catch. First, look, their fundamental assertion, and the only thing they want to prove in this debate, is that in the new world, we want responsible people. Look, we are talking about a habitable planet, right? That means we're probably going to live there for billions of years, even if we treat it like complete utter shit, in just the same way we treated this Earth. I'm sorry for the usage of the word shit. Second, in that particular instance, we don't think billions of years later, people are going to look at what people did billions of years earlier to take a learning from that. We don't take learning from what happened before dinosaurs. Second, billions of years, right? You want to give learning to people billions of years later. By the time evolution would have created a different species by us. Seriously. Third, ladies and gentlemen, in that particular instance, you're talking about recalibration, right? Look, their borders are not going to remain permanent. And this is why. Under our model, at least there's a perception of fairness, when each and every individual has the ability to access a similar amount of land. Under their model, that does not exist. Under their model, people feel unfairly treated. They create poverty. What does that mean? When huge amounts of poverty and perceptions of unfairness are created, it is then that that sense of poverty leads to conflicts, leads to resentment. You cannot impose your lax immigration laws then. What will happen then, ladies and gentlemen? And we've seen what poverty can turn to senses of nationalism. We've seen what Hitler has done to an impoverished Germany to take on territory when he felt that territory was not fairly given to Germany, for example. Those kinds of feelings will be created in that new world when people want to recalibrate what happens. But in alternate world, even if we somehow magically concede the United States will get less land, we don't think that's going to be nicer, because the United States feels much unfairly treated in that particular instance. We don't think the United States is going to use all of the technology to remain silent. No, that's when more conflict will happen when the United States feels more territory that they rightfully deserve has been taken away from them. Our system at this creates a perception of fairness when each and every individual starts off equal with each and everyone else. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a true opportunity to create an equal Earth. They take away that. They create intentionally huge amounts of poverty. We think that's unfair. We think we win.